This is Nathan Stanford. We're back to the CF forum, learning HTMX and learning ColdFusion to be the backend. For this ColdFusion forum, we're trying to use HTMX. So if I click here and I refresh, you can see we've got our login. I did get rid of all the usernames and passwords for localhost, so we won't have that to keep popping up. And lo and behold, I see this name example.com. Let's go fix that first. So let's go like this, and we will, how about we'll just Alt-Tab to, I have too many things open. Let's close a few things that I can. I can close those. I'll leave the rest open. So we will go to the forum, and then we will go to VS Code right there. And in here, we're going to, I'm going to close them all. Then we're going to go to login. And in here, we have the password being that. Enter your password. And then placeholder, I'm going to change it from that to enter your email. Okay. Now you could use your username to log in, but I'm actually wanting to use the email for the login, username for display purposes. So let's go check out register and make sure we've got those set as well. You're trying to input your username. So here's the input. Let's actually say, you know what, I'm going to leave the placeholders empty. I don't see any placeholders down here. So good. Now, one of the things that we want to do is, now that we can register, let's create another user. So let's do this. Alt-Tab back, and we'll simply, let me hit refresh. So now we've got enter your email, enter your password. Night Coder, that's fine. And for now, I'm just using the word password. And so when I hit submit, it comes here. And if we look here, you can see it's past the email. I think we showed that before. So what we're going to do is let's hit refresh, go to register, and the username, Night Coder. Now, it says that one already exists. However, it didn't actually query to find out if it exists. So we're going to go here, and we're going to go, let's change this to, well, let's actually go make Night Coder work. Nightcrawler, yeah. Okay, let's go make that work. So what we need it to do is when they are trying to type in on register, if you go to HTMX, which I think I still have open, and you say trigger, we want to trigger as it's changed. We want it to check to see if that username exists. So let's actually add this here. That's the trigger. As this form field is changed, we want to trigger, and we're doing a type of get. You have to remember that. Let's go to the register. We're checking to see if the username exists. Let's just comment this out because right now we don't want it, even though I'm going to be uncommenting it probably in a minute. What I want to do, cfdump URL. So now we can actually see the variables that are being sent. So if I come back here and I hit refresh and I go to register, notice nothing's there. But if I start typing night, now you can see night is there. And if I type coder, now Night Coder is there. So what we can do is we'll go back to the code. We want to do a query of the database. So if you don't remember how, You should remember how. But let's go back real quick. The name is username. So when we come back here, we're going to do .username. That's the variable we're going to be querying. CF query name. Check username exists. You don't have to name it that long. I just did because now anybody looking at it would know what this query is for. There's probably better names. I will do that even though this is inaccurate. What we want to do is username. We want to, let's just get everything. And the table that we have is member without an S. And we want to say username. Actually, we do want that. I think that's correct. Let's do Control Z so it's not line wrapping on me. And what I think I'm going to do now is we're going to dump this. Dump. And then we will see if that username exists or not. Now remember, we'll move this one first. So you'll see the first dump is going to be username. So that's fine. In fact, let's get rid of this and let's just say label. This is something you can do when you're doing a dump. You can say URL. That way it's dumping the URL. And then here we can say label equals. And I like to name it the variable that it's being dumped. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's hit refresh. Go to register. Start typing night and let's stop. So now it's posted that the word night and it's checked the query. It's found 0. So let's type in coder. Pause. Now you can see that it didn't. It found the user night coder. So let's go back to coding. So if we have this happen, we can say if check username exists dot record count is greater than 0, then what we want to do is have it display this username exists. And since we know the username, why not let's just go ahead and the username night coder already exists, or whatever the username is. So here we've done this. We've checked to see if it exists. That's the query up there. That was this up here. So we can say we check to see if the username exists, and then we want to pass back the error. So if this is working, which I think it might be, we will put this right above this if statement. If it is working, we can always put the to do back if it's not working. Pass back an error, else we'll do nothing. So it's kind of done. Let's go see if it actually is done. Hit refresh, hit register, and we'll type night coder. Now here's something. We got the already exists, but we don't have CF output around it. So let's go back here. Let's get rid of these two dumps for now because we don't need them. But what we do need is CF output. Now what I'm going to do is put CF output in here. There we go. Now, when we come back here, we hit refresh, and we hit register, and we type night. Notice nothing happens. That's fine. Coder. And now it says this, I got the messed up with the E's missing. But it's the username, Nightcoder, already exists. So let's go back here. Let's add the letter E. Actually, you know what? I think I like just simply saying Nightcoder already exists. So let's try it again. Now notice I did not hit refresh. I do this, it goes away. I do this, it comes back. So what we can do is we can say, okay, when Nightcoder already exists, we also want this register button to be disabled so they can't try to submit it. So how do we do that? Let's go see. So down here in this register, this button needs an ID. So let's say ID equals register button. And I think I'm going to do register underscore button. And then on the end, okay. So register underscore button. So we need to remember this. So let's copy this. We're going to go back to user exists, and we're going to say if user exists, we want to change the register button. So we're putting that in here, and then we're going to say if else, because if we've done something to the button, we want to put the button back. And there's other ways to do this, but we're doing it with HTMX, and we're doing it this way. So if we go back to HTMX and you look for out of bounds swaps right here, all you've got to do is turn this on and make sure your ID matches the ID of the item that's on the screen. So if I go back here and I simply paste this in here and I paste this in here, the ID of these match, and the button itself, when you go back to login, the ID matches, the ID register button matches. So this should work unless I've done something wrong. So let's go back here, let's hit refresh, and we will go to register, and we will start typing night, nothing happens, coder, and now it says it already exists, but it didn't do anything because we didn't tell it to do anything. I just realized we forgot to do that. So let's tab back. When we're doing this, we're actually going to be changing that button. And let's do two things. When it's disabled, well, first, let's just say disabled. Let's do that first. Or wait. This is Bootstrap. I think in Bootstrap, if I remember correctly, you can just say disabled. I think that's correct. Let's go back here and hit the R, put the R back, and now I can't click on register. But I actually want to do one step more, and let's change it from blue to the secondary color, which I think is a gray. So if I delete the R and I type the R back, now it's really obvious that it is disabled. You can't click on it and it's turned gray. So if I wanted to be Nightcoder 1, I could. So let's actually, I like these ones that created, so let's do Web Wizard, and we'll say Web Wizard, at test.com, and famous password, and we will register, and we're not, I should have hit never. So now it's got the name of the person, And we know who's logged in, although we technically did not log in because we just registered and had to output that. We will be adding that to this. And so let's see how it goes. Let's hit this so we can get this back. So what we want to do now is test logging in. But right before you log in, let's test, since we're doing register, we will build this other persona, and we will, let's see here, I'm going to grab Notepad, paste it in there, and save it for a minute. So in case I forget, I don't want, although it's right there, I should be able to find it. But what we want to do is when they come in here and it exists, we're going to be adding this user to the session. So let's go look here. In application, we have a session user. So let's actually come back to register, or actually let's do it in login. I'm just going to put up here a dump, CF dump of session. We should be able to see user, but it will be empty. So if I just click here and it reloads, now we have some stuff in there, the CF ID, the CF token, but if you see here, user is empty. That means there's nobody logged in at the moment, and we have no data about that logged in person. So we're going to leave that there so we can look at it in a minute. We're going to come back to the register. Once they hit it, then they check to see. This is just checking to see if it exists. This is not when they're hitting. That's to keep, okay, so this one we don't need to change. Submit user. This is the one where we registered and passed back this login. And for now, let's just make this one line because it's simple, nothing to it. Display user name. Okay, so up here, after we've inserted, if there's not been an error, then we want to do CF set session dot user session dot user. Okay, so we want to go back to here. We're going to add information to that session variable user. So what we want to do, all we have is username, email, correct for right now. But let's just simply do this. We're going to say, all of that's good. But we don't want the password. So now there's been 0 posts. What we will do is we need to, let's see here. This is when you're inserting the first time. So this is probably correct. Let's take this Y. Okay. I think I've got an extra one there. I think that's extra. I don't see any up there. So here I'm setting this user. So now, oh, wait. Well, let's try it. I think it will not work. It will show form.username and form.email. And even on now, it probably won't work. But we'll find out because there are some things that do work. Let's bring this down. Come back here. We will refresh. That's the session. So we will go with Python Ista. Python Ista at test.com. Put our password in. Here it goes. I must have broke it. Okay. Let's change this to what I would think it would need to be. If this doesn't work, then we will go from there and we will do it the harder way. In fact, well, we'll do this for now and see just how it works. So let's go back here. If I remember right, I can probably, let's go to the database. Let's verify what users we have. So we don't have Pythonista. That's good. I just want to make sure. Okay, so there's an error being thrown, but let's change this. Let's actually let's see here. Okay, let me check something. Okay, I think I'm going to change my mind and do this differently. What I want to do, trying to decide. Let me go ahead. Let's actually create a user info.cfc. And what we're going to do is create a component. That's fine. That's fine. I don't care about the author. We'll leave that there. And display name is going to be user info. And I want it to be output false. That's fine. But let's move this over here. Output false means as you're doing processing, it will not output lines. So if you had it on true, as you were doing things, it would be making spaces for every time you did any kind of output. And you don't really want that when you're doing this way. So let's see here. The only other thing I want here, let's just do this, do a space, assessors equals true. Okay, and then what we want to do, property name equals username. Trying to decide. So what I want to do is type is going to be string. Default is going to be nothing. We don't want it to be default. And then we want to look at getting, we don't want password. We do want email. I'll put password in for a second and take it out in a minute. Join date, last activity, and post count. Now we want to get rid of password. Defaults to 0, and this defaults to now. We don't want it to default to now. We want to pass in that information, and we want this to not default to anything. And for that matter, let's actually not even default this to 0. So let's see here. Okay, so let's see. I need to add 2 or 3 things. Okay, let's see here. One of the things I need to add, no, not that. Let's see here. I want, let's see, the location's never going to change, so I will try it with this. I was debating about using request, but let's do this mapping, and we will do actually let's do double quote, and let's do slash where is CFCs? Is it in the root? CFCs, let's close this. CFCs is in the root, so let's say CFCs, and then after that you say is equal to expand path, and we want to do that, and we want to do the path that we're trying to go to, which is going to be CF form, and then from CF form we want it to go to CFCs, and I think that's all we need. And then from there we want to, let's see here, well, let's just test this, make sure this is working. One thing you can do, you see this 2 up here, I'm going to get rid of it. Every time you're resetting your application, sometimes you have to change the name to force it to get all this information again. That's just something you can do to have that issue not occur. So let's see here. So I'm doing that. We're going to get rid of this because we're going to do it differently. In fact, session user, user info is the name of the object. Yes, it is. So let's see if this works now. We will go to the login because that's what's going to show up first, and there's a session already being dumped. So if we come back here and I click on home, it creates a new session, and if you look right here you can see user info was created. I'm going to stop at this point. I don't want to make this one super long, but you can see we've already got this object ready. All we have to do is now, once we do that, we've got this assessors equal true, which means you'll have all the gets and sets built in. So if you were to click on this and look here, oh, but we haven't initialized. Let's go back to here. That sets that. It should be initializing it, but oh, you know what? Hold on. Let's go back here. Return this. It's not got all the properties. I'll have to figure out what I'm doing wrong, but I'm going to stop right here and call it a night. I've got things to get done today. I had to go to the dentist and get a crown re-put on. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to be posting this up to the GitHub that I'm working on. So even if I've made mistakes, the mistakes will be there. Why? Because I'm clicking here and going to say episode 6, and I'm going to commit and push. And then once that's done, then I will be pushing it up and letting everybody know.